Hello and welcome to today's video. Today's video is a review, a long-term review of the Fujinon XF50 to 140 millimeter f2.8 RLM OIS WR. Another mouthful from your friends at Fujifilm. The short version, spoiler alert, I love this lens. I love this lens. So let's talk a little bit about the specs, what this lens is all about, how it works. We'll talk about my experience, how I use it, show you some sample photos, and then we will end with my infamous patented Doughnut rating. So before we begin with all that though, this video is not sponsored by anybody except me and my new one-on-one online photography training class. Well, it's not a class, it's sessions. It's one-on-one, you and me on Zoom, talking about exactly what you would like to learn to help you create the photos you want. It can be, I need to learn more about exposure, how aperture, shutter speed, ISO work. I need to learn more about my camera controls. I need to learn more about composition and how to think creatively, all that stuff. It can be about gear. It can be about Lightroom. I can even teach you how to do speed light flash photography. So short version is, if you're interested, stop on by my website. I will leave a link in the description. And then schedule yourself a 30-minute free first chat. Let's talk about your photography goals. Easy. So let's talk about this lens. I've had this lens for almost 5 years. I got it in 2016. It's 2021. 2020, yeah, that's how you say it, 2021. In that time, I've taken about 16,000 photos with this lens. My primary use of this lens, because it is a big dog, is with weddings. And I'll get to show you some samples of that in a minute. This lens retails for $1,600, $1,599 US. It has a weight of 2.2 pounds. It's a big dog. So here's my lens I use all the time, the 18 to 135 zoom. You can see the size difference. 3.5 to 5.6 constant f2.8. Yeah, dreamy. So 2.5, a little over 2 pounds. You can feel it. It's a heavy camera. It does have a tripod collar. I have taken it off because I don't really like tripods. It does have internal zoom, so when I'm zooming it, the lens doesn't, it won't grow on you. It stays all internal, so it's a fixed size all the time, along with the fixed aperture of 2.8. So, this lens, solid, tank-like. It's all metal construction. The focus ring is smooth, but it's focused by wire as all the Fuji lenses are. So I find it clunky at best. And my experience is when I'm trying to focus, I'm just kind of cranking it, and I just don't like Fuji's manual focus. Fortunately, their autofocus is so good now that at least in most of the situations I use it, that autofocus works for me. The aperture ring is smooth and good clicks. Good clicks. It's not easy to knock off of the click, to accidentally nudge it. So that's a good thing. And the zoom ring is super smooth, really, really smooth, well damped. Good stops at the end, and there's no lens zoom creep here at all. So a note about the image stabilization. While it is very effective and works really well, because this lens is so big and there's so many elements and they're heavy in here, when the camera's turned on, there is a fair bit of noise. You can, not noise, there's a sound it makes. It's kind of a hissing, humming sound of the gyroscopes moving around. Hear that? So that's a trade-off. Another trade-off with that, I'm assuming, is I do notice the battery consumption at events does, when I have the stabilization on, does consume more batteries on my T2 and T3. So it's doing a lot of work. So there you go, but it's effective work, so it works really, really well. So my overall impression of this lens is I love it. It's the image quality is amazing. The focusing speed is amazing and accurate for the things I do. I don't shoot sports. and I love it for portraits, weddings, events. I love the fact that it can let me be around the perimeter and not be, so I can create those photos that are more candid, unposed, just unguarded moments that I really love. I'll also use it in other unexpected situations and ways, and I'll show you those in a minute. So let's take a look at some photos, because I know that's why you came here today. So this is at 140 millimeters at a wedding, and you can see one of the reasons why I love this lens. The separation from background is amazing at 140 millimeters. Don't ask me why I shot this at 3.2. I might have bumped, or actually probably what happened is I probably bumped one of the control wheels that nudged it the third stop. I have a tendency to do that during events as I'm trying to grip this thing, and especially as I get a bigger grip with or a different grip when I'm holding this big lens. I probably nudge the aperture. I almost always shoot this at 2.8. If you're gonna get a 2.8 lens, you got it for the for the 2.8 part. Okay, so there's that. Love the details, the color, the everything about this lens. It's kind of magical to me. That's the best phrase. All the photos I've taken with this lens, I really like. Another wedding photo at 77 millimeters, 2.8, bride and groom's feet. I was a second photographer on this wedding, and so I got to do some of the fun detail shots around the edges again. And the reach of this lens lets me do that. I don't have to be in the action. I can be around it, be unnoticed, and again, you catch those hopefully unguarded moments. This telephoto lenses work well for my style too. I tend to like the tighter, intimate shots, the small picture, if you will, not the big picture. So you'll see another example here of the bride and groom's hands at a wedding. All the details. Look at all how again, this lens. This is in a dark ballroom, hotel ballroom. I did have a bounce flash on the camera, a speed light bouncing off the ceiling, but ISO 800, Fuji stuff at ISO 800, very nice. So yeah, details, color, just everything is just lovely on this lens. My other big use case for this lens is headshot photography. Again, for subject background separation. I'm not a big bokeh ball freak, but although I do like it, they tend to be a little more oval than pure round. I'm okay with that. They're okay. Here's another example, bokeh balls. So yeah, just lovely rendering. Everything is just, again, it's similar to the 35 millimeter f1.4, which I do have, but my wife uses. There's something magical between here and here that happens, and I don't know what it is, but I'm glad it's there. I shoot landscapes, photograph landscapes with this, 50 millimeters. Again, I'm not sure why I did 6.4 here. I usually shoot this at 2.8 or 5.6. So anyway, yeah, it does a nice job with landscapes. Again, the color, everything. Spider web detail with some dew on it. Again, the separation from the water behind is just, I love how smooth that water goes, even though it's at 1/1000th of a second, so it's not moving. It's just blurry because of the effect of the 140 millimeters combined with subject distance to background. So good stuff. I've been known to create photos of bunnies in the botanical garden in Bellevue. This little guy here. I don't remember if I had the 2x teleextender on here, a teleconverter. I'll talk more about that in a second. But it's a great lens. I mean, it's just yummy, yummy, yummy. Chef's kiss. I've also done some kind of non-traditional uses of this big lens, combining it with my extension tubes to see what it does close up. And that's what this photo is. This is takes the minimum focusing distance from about 1 meter. What's the standard minimum focusing distance? I think it gets it down to about 1 foot. I haven't measured it, but it's lots closer. You get lots more magnification. Obviously, your depth of field is so shallow there. This is at 5.6, but even then, you're probably on this flower dealing with about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of depth of field. Here's another detail shot. Again, this lens just sings and dances. I know it's physics. I would love if it was a little smaller. I would use it more often, but yeah, it's just the only the only reason I don't use it more is its weight, its size. Yeah, you get noticed with this lens. You can't be very stealthy. So, and then lastly, I'll show you a few photos where I've attached the Fuji 2x teleconverter to turn this into effectively a 280 millimeter lens. So the Blue Angels here, they're FA18 jet, rocking and rolling here, just an intimate little headshot portrait of a jet. And then Lieutenant Commander Webb here on his saluting the crowd on his way out to the flight line. Great, again, detail, the ability to take this lens and make it up to a 280 millimeter lens is just awesome. So again, I have lots of flexibility with this lens, lots of use cases for me and my style of photography, which likes those medium to semi-longer telephoto lenses. I like that look. I like the compression of subject to background, the separation you get with that, the image quality, the focus speed. It's just such a great lens. I'm just so glad I have it in my arsenal. It's $1,600, so it's not super cheap, but this lens is one of the reasons I switched from Nikon to Fuji. And here's why. When I was in Nikon full frame land with the D600, I was looking at getting some better quality lenses, and so that's the 70 to 200. That's the focal length equivalent of this 50 to 140. But that's $2,300, and it's even physically larger and heavier. So this lens was one of the reasons I switched to Fuji. So to save some money, save some weight, save some cost, and still not compromise image quality at all, at least for the stuff I do. So that's my opinion. I highly recommend this lens. So something to be aware of with Fuji lenses when it's time to buy. Usually there's 2 times a year that Fuji will have some rebates or just markdowns on the lenses, sometimes in the spring, late March, April, May, somewhere in that neighborhood, and also then later in the fall around the holiday time. So at least in the US. So if you're coming up on those times and want to maybe wait a little bit, see what the sales are doing, I highly recommend it. I think when I bought this lens, I think it was $300 off. So sometimes they have some pretty good deals on this lens. All right, so final review, final summary here. I give this lens 4.5 out of 5 donuts. Again, the only thing I would change, and you're just fighting physics here, and current ways of doing lens design is size and weight. If it was a little smaller, a little lighter, it would almost be glued to my camera probably, but it's just a little too much right now. But I love the quality of the images, and I love the experience of using this lens. So I hope you found this helpful. I am going to be continuing to do some lens reviews in addition to the already completed review of the 6-year review of this 18 to 135, which I'll leave a link in the notes below. Yeah, so if you have questions, comments, personal experiences you would like to share with this about this lens, please leave them in the comments below. Love to grow this community. As by law, as a YouTuber, I am required to ask you to subscribe to this channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you would. And if you'd like this video, that also helps me a lot with the algorithm. And if you really, really like it and would share it with a friend, that would be much, or 10, share it with 10 friends. That would also be greatly appreciated. Look forward to seeing you again in another video soon. And until then, stay well, wash your hands, and have fun creating photos.